Okay, there's Daniel Holleran with Emet Ministries. Emet's a Hebrew word for truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth nowadays. Paul said, have I now become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Okay? People deserve to know the truth, and God expects people to come into the truth. Now, I left off on Zechariah 5, talking about Iran with a nuclear weapon. Okay? They're trying to develop their own nuclear weapons. Okay? But I believe they already have nuclear weapons. Okay? And they will. It says right here in the Word that, read it again in Zechariah 5 verse 11. And he said unto me, this is Zechariah talking to the angel, to build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. Okay? The feminine. Okay, remember the woman in the ephah covered by lead? The fiery woman. Okay? And so, God was also showing me the word or the name PAK, P-A-K. Now, I was stationed in the military in Korea. PAK is a very common Korean name. Okay? It's also an acronym. Pakistan, the Arab world, and Korea or North Korea. Now, let's keep in mind that Iran, the Iranians, or the Persians are not Arabs. Okay? But they're part of the Arab world. Okay? And if you look back historically, some people believe, remember the Jews, they hit the Osiris nuclear plant when Saddam Hussein was in power. And supposedly there was a monetary transference of wealth, because remember Iraq is an oil producing country, and a technological transfer from Iraq to Pakistan. Okay, but of course you also have Dr. Khan, the father of nuclear bomb in Pakistan. Okay, so there's a pact, P-A-C-T. Remember George Bush talked about the axis of evil. He talked about Pakistan. He talked about Iraq, Iran. Well, let's not forget North Korea. He mentioned them as well. Okay. Back then, Iran wasn't much in the mix, but now they've come to the forefront. Okay? So that was one sign that God kept showing me, PAK. God also kept showing me the word pi, the Greek word pi, Pi, which is, of course, 3.14, which has to do with what? The circumference of a circle. Okay? Now, why is that relevant? Because if you go into Zechariah 5, it talks about the length or the height thereof of 20 by 10 cubits. Okay? Well, the 10 cubits has to do with the circumference of a nuclear missile. Okay? Michael Rood was shown he was given all this by God. In fact, I believe he was in the city of London. I saw him talk about this in person at the Prophecy Club. He talked about this years ago, and he saw, I think, the cover of a Scientific American, and it had the dimensions of a Pakistani missile, 35 feet by 5.5 feet in circumference. Okay? And you can work that out and equate that to the Royal Egyptian cubit of 20 by 10 cubits in Zechariah 5. Okay? The Indians have a very similar missile called the Agni, which means fire in India. Okay? Michael Rood mentioned a very interesting observation. He said the 3 types of nuclear weapons were created by Jewish scientists. If you go back in World War II, virtually all the scientists were Jews. Whether they were from Denmark, Hungary, Germany, so on and so forth. Okay? And he said this, Genesis 49:5. And I apologize for keep looking down. I'll get the technological drift of this. Genesis 49:5. He stated, I don't know if all, but some of the Jewish scientists were from the lineage of Levi. So Genesis 49:5, Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. And if a nuclear weapon is not a method or an instrument of cruelty, I don't know what is. Okay? Now let's get into Zechariah 6. Okay? I'm not going to go deeply into this because, my goodness, these are very rich prophetic materials. I mean, you could go for hours about this. I'm just going to touch on it because I have other things to mention. And so Zechariah 6, okay? And I turned and lifted up mine eyes, this is still Zechariah, and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains. And the mountains were mountains of brass. In the first chariot were red horses, and the second chariot black horses, and in the third chariot white horses, and in the fourth chariot grizzled and bay horses. Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, What are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said unto me, These are the 4 spirits of the heavens which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. Goes on to say, The black horses which are therein go forth into the north country, and the white go forth after them, and the grizzled go forth toward the south country. And the bay went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, Get ye hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walked to and fro through the earth. Then cried he upon me, and spake unto me, saying, Behold, these that go toward the north country have quieted my spirit in the north country. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Take them into captivity. Okay, I'll skip that. There's so much to go into here. Basically, Irvin Baxter, another man to research and look up. He believes the 4 horses here are equal and equivalent, the same as the 4 horses in Revelation. And I believe, and some people have different interpretations on this. I'd have to study it. I'm not going to say what I believe absolutely, what I believe it is. I haven't had time to study it deeply. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to touch upon many urgent things. But Irvin Baxter believes the black horse denotes capitalism. The white horse is Catholicism. Red horse is communism. And the bay and grizzled or speckled horses have to do with famine, war, different manifestations of death. Okay? The North Country has to do with the Western powers, Europe, America, and so forth. And of course, red has to do with the Eastern powers, Russia, which is also a Northern power. And so he sees all these forces coming forth. Michael Rood, he stated that the 2 mountains of brass were 9/11, since the towers were man-made. And of course, brass is an alloy created by man. Okay? I tend to believe also they're bookmarks. Mount of Olives, and possibly the peaks, the days of Noah after that judgment. Also, speaking of mountains, that is how nuclear weapons are created, through the cascading of centrifuges to create enriched uranium. Okay? Now, another thing I want to mention is if you go to Impact, EMPACTA, America.org, the Ministry of Peter Pry and former CIA Director Woolsey is on there. They've got a very horrific video to watch. You can watch it on YouTube. It's the Club K series. It's a weapon developed out of Russia, where they would load a nuclear weapon in a freight. What's loaded on freighters? You know, these freight boxes which are loaded on semi trucks and carted off. And so they believe this is a dry run, and by Iran, and also to humiliate Obama in America. And that's just how it is. You know, countries will test one another to see what they can get by with. Okay? And the Iranians have tested this weapon in the Caspian Sea. You know, Iran borders the Caspian Sea. You know, that's all it would take to disable America. Now I'm going to get into beast tech. I'll introduce this, and I think I'll get into this later. Of course, this is the cover of the book, as you can see, by Terry Cook and Tom Horn. Okay, and this is out of Noah Hutchings' ministry, Beast Tech. You can call Barnes & Noble. They're always sold out of this. I recommend everybody listen to a 3-hour program on Hagman and Hagman. I'm dropping a lot of names here because Christians and unbelievers need to come into this quickly while the internet is still up. Okay, you need to get the truth. You always have to work from the truth. That's why I said it's crucial and vital that people first come into the truth. Because if you're not in the truth, you're in deception. You can only work from the truth. Once you get the truth, then you can make a decision on what to do with it. Or rather, what the truth should do with you. And so, listen to that 3-hour presentation, interview, Hagman and Hagman. I believe they're father and son ministry. They did a 3-hour interview with Steve Quayle and Tom Horn. And so when I get back, I'm going to get into Beast Tech, the mark of the beast.